Hello, welcome back to It's Histocracy with me, Daniel and Wafi.
Today we'll be looking at historic school curriculums and the unusual school subjects that students had to study in different periods of history in different places.
So let's begin.
Our first subject is eugenics. Eugenics had to be studied for all students. It was compulsory in the Nazi period before Jews had to be expelled from schools. So the topic that students studied under the influence of Adolf Hitler to learn about the superiority of Aryans to create a racially pure Germany. So the definition of eugenics is actually the practice or advocacy of improving the human species by selectively mating people with specific desirable hereditary traits. It aims to reduce human suffering by breeding out the disease, disabilities, and so-called undesirable characteristics from the human population. So in modern times now, genetic engineering is technically a method of eugenics. But luckily, we don't learn this in school anymore. Eugenics was actually quite popular in America during much of the first half of the 20th century, especially because of the relationship between Germany and America. Yet it earned its negative association mainly from Adolf Hitler's obsessive attempts to create a superior Aryan race. Eugenics also means good creation. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato may have been the first person to promote the idea.
So on to the next one. So this is going to be Manx. So Manx is basically a language that started in the 1200s and is still going right now, but it's very small. So basically, usually you're taught in schools French, German, or Spanish, or maybe Mandarin, but you would never be thought to have learned a language called Manx, and you probably don't even know what Manx is. And basically, it was traditionally the language of the Isle of Man, but the last original native speaker, Ned Mandrell, died in 1974. But in fact, UNESCO, which is the agency set up by the United Nations in 1945 to promote exchange of information, ideas, and culture, pronounced that the language was extinct in the 1990s. One islander, Brian Stowell, said that by the 20th century, it was so backwards to speak the language that there were stories of Manx speakers getting stones thrown at them in towns. Recent years, however, have seen the Manx Renaissance begin, and so it continues to be taught in the island schools up to A level. And one of the rare popular culture references to Manx appears in Thomas the Tank Engine, and although Thomas and his friends live on the fictional island of Sodor, they neighbour the Isle of Man and speak similar enough languages to communicate with the Manx trains.
Next, we have logic and rhetoric. Logic and rhetoric was part of the speech subjects that people had to learn in the Tudor times. It was actually started by Aristotle and it was called analytics. So the definition of logic is the study of correct reasoning, especially regarding making inferences. So as speeches and oratory was quite important in the Tudor times because it was one of the biggest forms of persuasion for people to make decisions. It was one of the biggest things that people had to learn and excel in.
So the next one is metaphysics. So this was during the Middle Ages. So the definition for it is the branch of philosophy that deals with the first principles of things, including abstract concepts such as being, knowing, identity, time, and space. So this term was invented in 1st century BCE by the head of Aristotle's Peripatetic school, Andronicus of Rhodes. In the Middle Ages, the question of the subject matter of metaphysics became more problematic. The two greatest medieval Islamic philosophers, Avicenna and Averroes, knew Aristotle's metaphysics well. Avicenna held that God could not be the subject of metaphysics, because it is in metaphysics that the existence of God is demonstrated, and no science can demonstrate the existence of its own subject. Metaphysics, therefore, has as its subject being disagreed by Averroes. He held that the existence of God is demonstrated in physics, and so metaphysics can be regarded as the study of the first being, the separate substance that, as final cause, is the mover of all things. Avicenna's view predominated among the Christian scholastics, who saw metaphysics primarily as the study of being in general, rather than of a particular special being. But Duns Scotus at least was willing to say that God is a sort of being, and so is considered in metaphysics along with all other beings. Thomas Aquinas, his position has been perhaps more nuanced. God is not two thoughts contained under the notion of being in general, but he is included within metaphysics, in that he is the cause of being in general, which the subject studies.
Finally, we have underwater basket weaving. So this actually is a quite recent one. It came in the 1940s and is still going now. It's a declining course, but can still be studied. And basically what it is just scuba divers creating woven baskets and learning how to make them while in the depths of the sea or campus pools, which I have to say is very, very useful now.
Well, that's it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. And we talked about many different things such as race, we talked about God's appearance, and we also talked about underwater basket weaving. Probably, as Paul said, very useful today. Anyway, maybe you want to learn some of these subjects now too.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.
And we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.